2024 has come to an end. That means it is time to once again rank the anime of the previous year. There has been quite a bit of anime come out in 2024. I have not watched all of it. I'm not going to pretend that I have watched all of it, and I couldn't watch all of it. For me, I try to watch about 5 every season that I really like, and then the ones that everybody talks about, I'll go back and watch them throughout the season. I haven't watched everything. If your favorite is not on this list, that's fine. It just wasn't on mine. Also, one brief thing on how I judge whether an anime should be eligible for this list. If the anime began airing in 2023 but did not complete until 2024, for me that is considered a 2024 anime. For instance, two big ones that I feel like is going to be on a lot of people's list. Will it be on mine? You'll have to find out. But Fren and the Apothecary Diaries, both of them I would consider 2024 anime, not 2023 anime. I know they were two separate cores, but I consider them 2024 anime because those cores aired back to back. So anyway, without any further ado, I am going to go over my top 10. Whether you agree with it or not, we'll have to see. In number 10 is Aya Sometimes Hides Her Feelings in Russian. Now this final spot was a bit of a tough one because there were so many anime that were right on the cusp of being on here. I'll mention some honorable mentions in a little while, but there were so many anime that were pretty good, and that's what I'm going to talk about with this one. It necessarily wasn't amazing, but it was pretty good. I had a really good time watching this anime. I enjoyed every minute of it pretty much. I think what really made this anime really good for me was the characters. It really, plot-wise, it's been done. Running for student council, we've seen that a dozen times. But what made it more interesting is that yes, it's just a high school rom-com thing, but the characters really were interesting. I liked all of them. The main character is great. Main girl is great. The sister, Yuki, is great. Masha, I think that's how you pronounce her name. The sister of the main girl, she's great. Just these side characters that we don't really learn a lot about, they're great. And I know we're going to get more. We're getting season 2, I assume this coming up year. So we're going to get a lot more of these characters. I'm so happy about that because I think this is really it wasn't slept on, but it's one that not enough people are talking about to be in like top 10 list. I think it's worthy of that. Number 9, Days with My Stepsister. I really didn't have that high of expectations for Days with My Stepsister, mostly because those animes where they are stepsister type thing, they are really hit or miss. They are either completely a waste of time, you know the ones, or they are actually something kind of special, but they're really just thrown under the rug. No one gives them any credit. And really, I was shocked at how well done Days with My Stepsister is. And not necessarily because of the plot. The plot is good, and I think it's a really interesting plot that is, we're getting told here with the idea of having step-parents, step-siblings, and everything like that. It's not just oh, we're step-siblings now, let's, fall in love. It really is how do you go about, being in a family that you're an older step-sibling. You're not kids, you're teenagers, you're young adults, and you're having to now accept a new sibling. That's not easy, and what kind of, emotions do you have to share with them, not only in a romantic sense, but in just a everyday sense. It's really well done, and it's told in a fantastic way. At first, I was kind of critical on it because I thought this animation is really not that good. But then whenever I started thinking about it more and watching it more, I started to realize they're telling it in a way that it is almost told in a diary, which makes sense because it's told mostly through the diary of our two main characters. And that is so neat because it works because this series was a light novel, now being told in an anime, it kind of works because you're reading it basically through the screen. It's so unique, and I love that. It was such a great anime. Probably not going to get any more out of it. I doubt we'll get a season 2, but I really think it was worth it, that first season. I think it's worth checking out if you haven't already. Now, the first two I'd consider to be about that 8 to 8.5 grade. Now we're going to move on to one that is between that 8.5 to 9 range, that being Dangers in My Heart Season 2. Dangers in My Heart Season 1 was really, really good. It was this interesting kind of romance anime thing, but it was different. Some anime to where they make a romantic, it's a love story type thing, you get that they're falling in love because you see it. They're telling you, hey, we're falling in love. With this one, and it's amplified in season 2, I do believe season 2 is better than season 1, you really see them fall in love in a way that is not us being told, hey, I'm falling in love, which we get that. But you get the emotions come across through the animation. And I think that's something that really, when you're going to make an anime versus, it's already a manga or light novel, you really need to do something that makes it worthy of being an anime. Don't just adapt it scene for scene. You have to take advantage of the music. You have to take advantage of the lighting. And Dangers in My Heart, one of the best in terms of lighting and music throughout the year. Now, obviously, I'm going to talk about some later that really go hard on the music and everything. But this one was just this perfect little mix of all of that, and it worked really well with a really satisfying ending. Now, will we get a season 3? I hope so. But if we never do, I'm happy with where it concludes. It gives this good bookend for the anime, and it tells people, hey, if you want to go read more, the manga's still out there. And the manga gets better and spicier, but I do think it was an excellent anime. Really hope it comes back someday, but I'm very happy with the season 1 and 2 that we have gotten so far. That is number 8. Now, the first 3, I was very serious about how they were really well done and how they were animated, how the scenes were, told and translated from manga to page to screen. With this one, I had such a blast watching this. There are ecchi anime that come out every year, and 99% of them are just trash. Sometimes fun trash, but they are just trash. You don't get anything out of them. That is not the case with Gushing Over Magical Rules. Yes, controversy aside, throw that away for now. I don't care. This was so much fun because it wasn't just, oh, we're putting our characters in, suggestive scenes. It was really this fun story. Like, they took advantage of that. It's not, oh, everyday scenario, but there is hentai in it pretty much. It really was, we know what we are, we're going all out on that. And that's what I want these ecchi anime to be. Don't just go half-hearted on it, go all in. Give me the full treatment. And they did. The characters are great. The characters are hilarious some of the times. And the situations they get into are completely out of this world. But that's what I want out of an ecchi anime. I don't want these simple, oh, I fell and now I'm topless. I don't want that. I want you to go all out. Give me the most bizarre concepts you can come up with. And Gushing Over Magical Girls did that fantastically, and I loved it. I am so happy we are getting more of this anime. Cannot wait. Hopefully it is just as crazy as season 1 was. And I want to commend High Dive. High Dive is the ones that licensed it for America, and they left it uncensored. They didn't censor it. It is so easy for anime to be censored, and I think that hurts it whenever it is licensed to the West. When you do that, I think there is this group of people, myself included sometimes, that when an anime is censored, they just they're like, I'll just wait. I'll watch it whenever it's uncensored. Because they aired it uncensored, I think that made more people think, oh, I'm going to check that out. They don't do that often. I think that is what helped it. It really, yes. Is it story-wise as good as the other ones on this list? No. But as an event, as something that I just loved watching every week to see what bizarre thing they would come up with, amazing. Amazing. Now, the first four I would consider to be pretty good. I had a lot of fun with them. These top six, I could argue is my anime of the year. I think all six of these are fantastic. I think they're worthy of being an anime of the year. If they're your anime of the year, I completely agree with you. I just put them in this ranking because this is how, at this point in the year, that I feel about them. And number six is Sound Euphonium Season 3. So Sound Euphonium is an interesting tale on how the series got to this point. We've gotten 2 seasons that told Kumiko's first year. Then we got the movie, which told her second year. And then we got Liz and the Bluebird, which told kind of a side story during her second year. Now we have gotten season 3, which is her third year. So yes, kind of complicated on how you need to watch this series. But I knew this series would be amazing once we got it. And season 3 was. It did everything that I wanted it to. The few things that I will say about it, there was some changes later in the season on how a few things went. And I saw some people complain. They said that that is not how they wanted it to go. But I think that is how it needed to go. I do think that amplified the story, especially the events surrounding Kumiko. I think that added to her character. And where Kumiko ends up at the very end of the story, I know some people don't like that. I know some people wanted something different. I loved what that was. Ever since I heard about it, whenever that was, I wanted to find out what happened. I loved that ending because that makes sense for Kumiko's character. Now, one thing that I was kind of complaining about at first while watching, but then I kind of retracted that, was that I thought season 3 seemed really fast-paced. I take that back because Kumiko in season 3 is now taking over the role of president of the band. Because of that, the fast-paced makes me feel like I'm in Kumiko's shoes. There is so much going on that I feel like this season, or this year in Kumiko's case, is flying by. Now, whether that was intentional or not, I don't know, but it worked. And Kyoto Animations, I don't put it past them if they did that intentionally. Now, there was points to where I think they could have cut a few scenes, added a few scenes, but overall, I really enjoyed it. I think that was the perfect, end chapter to the Sound Euphonium series. Am I sad that it's over? Absolutely. I don't want any more, though. I think it was perfect the way it ended. I don't ever want them to touch Sound Euphonium again. Perfect series. I want it left alone. Into the top 5 with too many losing heroines. I really, really love this series for a lot of reasons. First off, I'll talk about the characters. The main 3 girls, fantastic. They were really fun. The comedy in this. Comedy is a hard thing to do because it can almost feel like it's over the top, or it can be, overdone. With this, everything felt natural, and you really felt like, okay, this is how, dialogue would work. I really liked that. Not only that, but these character stories that we're getting with the losing heroines are unique because none of them win. We know that. And so to see that side of it, and to they're going to lose, but to want to root for them and to say, I wish you would win, but I know you're not going to. It's such an interesting thing because, yes, on occasion, we root for the losing heroine. We know it's going to happen. But with this, our losing heroines being all the main cast, you know what's going to happen, but it works so well, and I love it. Not only that, but this series, probably more than any of them, maybe Sound Euphonium, maybe another one we'll talk about here in a minute, background animation, the art in the background. Wow, this series looked amazing. Like, it's very easy to make your school buildings and everything look pristine, but that's not how it really would be. There would be ivy and moss and everything. That's this series. This series really nailed that. If I had to complain about one thing with this series, it's episode 12. This series adapted the first 3 arcs of this series, and that was perfect. It really just needed to be those 3 arcs. But instead they added an extra episode, which, this is me nitpicking, but we're down to these final 6, and I told you, any of them could be anime of the year. These little things are going to be what decides where I place them. That final episode could have been an OVA, because I felt like we had such good momentum. That first arc, that second arc, that third arc, and then we just get a random episode that doesn't feel like it's setting us up for anything else. It just feels like it's there just to say, oh yeah, here's a little fun episode before we say goodbye. And by the way, there is not a season 2 as of recording this. I can't imagine they don't do a season 2 though. But that final episode just kind of ruined the momentum that it had going for me, and that's why it's here instead of being higher on this list. Number 4 is Love Live Superstar Season 3. Now this top 4 was really tough for me because all of them were so good in different ways. And Love Live Superstar is kind of this odd one because while all the others were amazing all the way through and had peaks and valleys, but pretty solid all the way through, Love Live Superstar Season 3 started out as pretty good, kind of a step below all the rest, but as the series progressed and as we got further and further, it got so good, to the point where the final episode might be my favorite episode of the year. Rivaled with a few others, but that's for a different topic for a different day. But man, that last episode was so good. Love Live Superstar is the finale of Superstar. It is telling the end of the main 5 that we met in Season 1, and now passing the torch to the next generation. Doing that is not a new topic. K-on's done that. Sound Euphonium did that. They're going to do it again and again. But doing that in a way that feels satisfying, that feels emotional, in ways that we haven't seen before, is hard to do. And Love Live Superstar did that. It really did that, and I love that. Now, as for why it's 4th and not any higher, simply because I just love these top 3. These top 3 are, in some ways, flawless. Love Live Superstar, yes, I'm going to listen to all the songs they made this season multiple times. But I do think that there is something with Superstar and Love Live as a franchise as a whole that does hold it back sometimes. There's never this opportunity for them to do a solo song, or maybe just a few of them doing a song by themselves. You really can't do that because you have contracts and everything. It's an idol group. You have to, if one of them sings, all of them have to have a song to kind of balance it out. Like, for instance, during this season, 3 of the characters split off into their own group, but the other 8 are in their group as well. Both of them get a song separately, and then they all have main group songs throughout the season. Balances each other out. I do think that hurts the franchise. It's done very well in Superstar. Other franchises or other series kind of suffer for that, but I think it's done well here. But I do think there was a few moments you could have had just inserted a special song. For instance, the second years this year, there was a moment that I think you really could have put a song in there. But they didn't do it. They had their outfits ready and everything, but they didn't do it. And I think they really could have. But little moments like that, I think it was just, it's those moments that could have elevated it from a really good series to a masterpiece. And it's just right there. But still, amazing series, an amazing finale. Love the franchise. She's one of my favorite anime characters of all time. Finally, we have reached the top 3. Now, these top 3, especially second and third, I have bounced back and forth so many times. And number 3 is Frieren Beyond Journey's End. Frieren is such a unique anime because it's fantasy. And normally, fantasy is not one of my favorite genres because I think it's so overdone, not just in the isekai way, which Friren's not, but in this way of that's just the common thing you throw in. You know, it's fantasy. That's easy to do. You don't have to worry about, modern day or anything. It's just very easy. It's like a school setting. It's one of the best ones and easiest ones to do. So to make that unique is something you don't see that often. And Frieren does that. Frieren completely changes the way you view the world of Frieren. And it's so interesting. Not only this, but the main whole concept behind Frieren, to where she ages super slowly and all of the people around her are going to basically die long before she will. It's so heartbreakingly beautiful when you watch it and you know what's coming. You know probably Fern and probably Stark are going to die long before her. And you saw at the beginning where she had to basically say goodbye to her old party, now getting a new one. It's so cool to see this. It's beautiful in a way that is so unexpected. I didn't expect it to be as good as it was. And part 1 is by far, if it was just part 1, I might have put it as number 1 because it is so perfect. And I know a lot of people are saying, well, part 2 ruins it. It doesn't ruin it. Part 2 is still, if part 1 is a 10 out of 10, part 2 is a 9.5. It is still really, really good. The only thing is I feel like part 1 is a fantastic standalone story. Part 2 is a really good chapter 1 of the entire story. So it's like the beginning and then chapter 1. I love that, but now we have to wait for, I don't know when we'll get season 2, hopefully before 2028 or something. Hopefully we're not getting another Bocchi the Rock where we're waiting a long time before we get it. Hopefully it's very soon, but until then we are left with basically the prologue and chapter 1 of Frieren's very, very, very long story. And with the rate that the manga comes out, I would say we're probably going to be waiting for a while. This will probably be another Attack on Titan situation to where you get a chapter, or you get a few seasons, then they have to wait for the manga to catch up, then we'll get the rest of the story. Hopefully it's not another 10, 15 years like Attack on Titan was, but I wouldn't be surprised. But overall, it was really, really fun. Had a lot of fun, and I can't wait for more. Number 2 is Girls Band Cry. I didn't expect this. I was putting off Girls Band Cry for a long time because I was like, I've heard it's pretty good, but I'll wait. I'll be something I'll watch towards the end of the year because it's not going to make my list. Because, for one, it's CGI. All of it. And I know I shouldn't be the one to judge that. There are plenty of CGI anime that are really, really good. But that's me saying I don't like change. I'm not going to accept change. But man, was it good. Like, really good. The way that they make... Bocchi the Rock did this, and Girls Band Cry has now done this as well. And both are masterpieces in their own right. But the way that they're able to make these characters relatable, but also in ways that they haven't done before, of ways to where you can't really put your finger on why they are so relatable. Whether it be the overall plot as to why they are here, why they are wanting to be a part of this band, or why they want to have friends and everything like that, why they're hesitant to have friends, or just the little quirks that they have that they mess up and they do something like that. All of these contribute to making a group of girls that is insanely just enjoyable to watch. I loved watching this. I loved the music. The music is something that I am excited to listen to. It pumps me up, but it also makes me emotional. I love that. Complex anime is so much fun to watch. But it's not one of these to where I'm like, debating my, entire existence. It's just, yeah, I get it. Life is tough sometimes, and they really get that. And that's really well done, really well shown off here. Now, before I get to number one, I would like to go over a few honorable mentions because you're probably wondering where a few of these anime are. Now, I will real quickly go over 2 anime that are not on this list and would not be on this list because I haven't finished them. And I'll give you a real good reason why I didn't finish them. And that's Re:Zero and Mushoku Tensei Season 2 and Season 3 from Re:Zero. I didn't finish them. And you know why? Because I feel like they probably might have been on the lower end of this list. But those 2 fandoms have argued and argued and argued ever since those 2 anime have come out. I didn't want to be involved in that. I didn't want to rank one above the other, so they're not even on this list. I'm not even going to consider them because I'm not going to get involved with that. If you love them anime, I hope you do. I'm excited for both of them, and I love both of them. Putting that aside, a few others. Train to the End of the World. I loved this anime. I loved it so, so much. Unfortunately, the ending is a bit rushed. I believe if this would have had just a couple more episodes, or maybe they would have cut a few things and then sped up the ending a little bit so they could get to a few things and spend a little bit more time with it. I feel like you really could have made something special here. Unfortunately, that last episode is just kind of messy, kind of rushed, and the ending is just not that satisfying in my opinion. So it just didn't click all the way that it should, but very, very good and very close. I almost put it on this list even then. So if it would have done everything right, it would have been in this range, but unfortunately, it's probably that 11 or 12 range now. Pseudo Harem. Pseudo Harem was amazing. The story of basically a romance that, where she's got multiple personalities to try to win him over. That was really fun. Really just this heartwarming story that I loved all the way through. And what I loved most of all about it is when they finally get together, that's not the end of the story. It's one season, but that season is not just, them getting together. It's basically their whole life. And I love that. It's something you don't have to do, but it was really well done. And one more honorable mention, Don to Don. I had a lot of fun. I didn't think it was perfect, but I had a lot of fun. I think this anime could get better as the story progresses. We're getting season 2 in 2025, so I'm excited about where it goes. But do I think it was perfect season 1? No. I think some of the character moments are great, but the action scenes, I kind of felt like some of them dragged on a little bit. And then there was a really emotional moment in, I think, episode 7. That is one of the best scenes of the year, but overall, I just didn't think it hit well all the way through. So finally, my number 1 anime of 2024. I have been making my anime awards for 5 years now. This is the 5th year. In 2020, it was Asteroid in Love. In 2021, it was Hagi Hero. In 2022, it was Bocchi the Rock. Last year, it was Attack on Titan, the final chapters. And for 2024, it is the Apothecary Diaries. I loved this series. Just everything about it was just perfect. And I don't really like these period pieces. I think they sometimes can be a bit over the top. They don't really know, how to be, make the most out of anime. And this one did. It was just perfect. Mao Mao as a character is one of my favorite characters in anime of all time now. I love that she can be this very goofy character, but then also handle these very serious topics. But the way they handle her character makes it to where it's not this big transition to where it's very abrupt and you feel like whiplash when that happens. You really get it, and it works. Not only that, but the side characters. All of these characters that inhabit this area, you root for them. And not in like this way to where you necessarily want them to win. You just want them to like make it, to do the best they can. It's such an interesting anime. Not only that, but I think just the story as a whole is so moving in some parts of it. Using this period piece to where you're talking about another time period, you can do more of these topics that you can't really do in modern anime. And they do them, in ways that I didn't really expect. The storylines in part 2 especially, I didn't see a lot of that coming. And the way that it's handled is moving. This anime is restarting in like a couple days now. So I'm very, very excited to see where this series goes. I am kind of worried that a series like this could become very stale because I felt like we got a really good part of Mao Mao's story. And there are so many anime to where we get a part of that story, and then as the anime and manga progresses, it slowly becomes more just mundane. And I hope that's not the case here because season 1, core 1 and 2, is so beautiful. That's basically the only way I can explain it. It's beautiful. And I hope they don't tarnish that by just milking it dry. I don't think they will. People that have read way ahead say it's great, and I'm excited to see what comes next. I do think there is a ton of different storylines you could do, and there is a ton of mystery still left for us to discover. I'm excited about that. I hope it's not drug out just for keeping the story going, and I'm very optimistic that come next year that we'll get the little Mao Mao plushie out or whatever I decide to pick for next year, and it's on this top 10 once again for season 2. So that is my top 10. What do you think? Do you agree with me? Do you say that my list is completely wrong? Should One Piece have been number 1? I didn't watch One Piece. But if you did enjoy, I will be making another video in a couple of days talking about my most anticipated anime of 2025. Probably Apothecary Diaries will be on that list. So stay tuned for that, and then thank you so, so much for watching all of 2024. If you have been here for a while, or if you're brand new, thank you for stopping by. Hope you will stick around, and until then, I'll see you guys next time.